Welcome to the penultimate mini episode in the series. In this part 10, please permit me a toty wee bit of housekeeping. In the last episode, about 5 to 6 minutes in, when I said I was not pro LGBTQ+, I would like to revise the subsequent sentence slightly to the following. And I am not pro LGBTQ+. I am generally pro people being who they want to be, doing what they want, when they want, in a relatively safe environment. I believe the good in people will shine through if more freedoms are granted, and I do not want to stifle that freedom for individuals to take risks and push boundaries should they want to. Desmond Tutu said that despite the reality of evil, of injustice, of suffering, at the centre of this existence is a heart beating with love, made for goodness. So diving into part 10, we will bring some of the mini-series together with an idea that could be seen as a little more complex, but I feel certainly not out with the realms of possibility if there is group agency. Honest men and bonny lassies, we have laid a fair bit of groundwork already, and now we can talk about the concept of trust factor coefficients, or TFCs. Throughout the mini-series, the value life core value of trust has been at the forefront, and we have presented why it is essential, not only for effectively functioning communities and society, but it can be used as a stepping stone to more joyous occasions and for more loving relationships to thrive. With the value life community pressing for changes like exploring the application of TFCs, perhaps global values will be nudged to promote respective core values too, as we'll look at in the next episode. Hold up. This is driven by a supreme distrust I have for many elite and leaders, and the lack of confidence in them leading us quickly to a better world for the children. The elite and leaders generally give the indication that they are incentivised by money, increasing their power, elevating their status, advancing their own agendas, and aggressively pursue the quite unnecessary infinite growth of finite demand for finite resources. Enter beautiful economists. I place no blame, as they are slaves to the inherited and many outdated systems of governance. I believe there has to be a collective movement that enables a rapid changing in systems and perceptions. Trust is salient for many everyday aspects of life. For example, the majority of people in the world trust that safe food, clean water, shelter and energy will be available to fulfill needs, and believe money has a certain value, and this facilitates transactions and can help us to decide how to spend our valuable time. As we have briefly touched on in earlier episodes, currency is essentially a belief system that almost everyone agrees has value, and consumers in capitalist markets have power collectively. But transparency must be promoted in commerce to empower consumers. Some of the work being done in this area is quite marvellous too. The European Commission released a proposal for a directive on empowering consumers for the green transition at the end of March this year, which is a step in the right direction. In my limited capacity, I have come across 4 quite amazing indexes by sources I think I can trust, or at least generally, in my opinion, are reputable and responsibly spout virtuous rhetoric. The first is the Public Sector Corruption Index by transparency.org that we have talked about previously. The second is the Democracy Index by The Economist Intelligence, also alluded to previously. The third is the Rule of Law Index by the World Justice Project, and the Reporters Without Borders Press Freedom Index by RFS is the fourth. It may be relatively safe to assume that the nations at the top of these indexes are perceived as looking after their people well, have relatively good systems of governance in place, and have relative safety and have extensive civil liberty. But there does not appear to be much socio-economic or environmental incentive for expedited improvement of these indexes, and there is seemingly little leverage, recognition, buy-in or ascendancy associated with indexes by authoritarian regimes. If the markers were something that they cared about, then the indexes may actually influence their policies and decision making, or even persuade them to introduce accountability measures to present more favourable verdicts. As it stands, the indexes do not deter authoritarian regimes from, or more importantly, influence them in achieving their goals. They certainly do not seem to covet high index scores. I would imagine that many elite and leaders probably would not admit either that they are driven or at least influenced by envious notions. In my opinion, there is no shame in that, but if that is the case, should we not promote revelling in glory when people say, "Gi's a swatch your generosity"? There are people and organisations driven by generosity and charity. Major kudos, hugs and love to them. In my opinion, the trusted ones should have far more influence driving policies. In the book Sacred Economics, it says, quote, "A community weaves together social and economic ties. Lacking this, we suffer a painful deficit of being." TFCs seek to address just this, bridging gaps and connecting. Please do see this week's Value Life newsletter, linked in the video description, for a few components that could be assessed that align with promoting values like freedoms, acceptance, culture and truth, #fact, and I feel would influence the prioritisation of policy to guide humanity towards our party. The newsletter also has details on the qualifying of data and resources, the high-level framework for the process and reference material. Please check it out at your leisure. Initially though, I would suggest a simplified proof of concept process be initiated using the existing previously mentioned 4 indexes, combining them through the application of some mathematical jiggery-pokery to obtain a TFC-esque output and applied to scenarios. For example, as a starting scenario, another type of UN voting system could be explored. A respected committee-elect or diverse panel from numerous nations ranged across bands of index scores without UN Council veto powers or nuclear weapons would draw up the process for case studies. Following the combination of the index scores and the mathematical jiggery-pokery, the TFC-esque output could be attributed to countries' voting power and the output results of the trial run voting scenarios presented to demonstrate functionality. Nation states would work to enhance their effective trustworthiness through TFCs based on the input criteria and give them more or less weight in council votes. This is what was alluded to in the first couple of episodes. Brevity is a virtue I am working on. It should be noted that the 4 index measures are not unflawed, and before anything moved forward, there would have to be rigorous, unbiased, peer-reviewed investigations, QA/QC, and data verification and validation processes, the specifics of which we will not get into here, as we are just suggesting a framework or an idea even to try and enhance the current situations, if not start to rectify. The implications of implementing systems that incorporates TFCs could be far-reaching. For example, I think by applying a kind of TFC to trading partners too would give a good indicator of where to allocate capital and to avoid dependency or even over-allocation to market operators within regimes that conflict with or that may compromise one's own institutional values. If entities obtain high TFCs, boomtown, increased prestige or status, stability encouraged, and more custom shall be attracted. Money, 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 money. Money. It would be a way of tying power or status and respect and money to trustworthiness, moral and ethical behaviours and values. Socio-economic slavery must end. Our time and our stories are our own. At an even more local level, credit could be given to those who earn the trust of the community in a kind of mutual credit system. This ties in with the finale. Maybe one day applying standardised, transparent TFCs to nations, financial institutions, corporations, businesses and organisations will be the norm. Maybe one day they will serve the people of this world to ensure culture, freedoms and the environment are respected and continually enhanced. Trust factor coefficients. Sounds like something that should exist, but maybe one day they won't be needed. It will just be the way things are. Can we really do this? We are the people. Believe and we can move mountains. Next up is the finale to bring us home so we can start our journey.